Hello, my name is Alifi Devianti. My student number is 19060024. I'm sitting in semester 3, class A. I'll make this video as my pronunciation final test assignment, and I will explain about passive voice. Okay, most of people thought that passive voice is only used in formal situation, but that was a mistake, because passive voice is also used informally in our daily activity. So why do we study passive voice? Is that important? Yes, passive voice is important. Okay, next I will explain you about the situation when we usually use the passive voice in our daily activity. So let's check it out. Okay, there are 3 situations when we usually use passive voice. The first situation is when the object or on what action is done is more important than the subject or who did the action, and it needs to be highlighted. The second situation is when we don't want to disclose the subject or we don't want to say who or what did the action. And the third situation is when we may not know the subject at all. We don't know who did the action. To understand the passive voice, I should explain first about the active voice. I genuinely believe that you are very familiar with this active voice. Look at this sentence. My mother made the fried rice. Here, it contains of subject, verb, and object. And here, the subject did the action to the object. My mother made the fried rice. This is a very simple sentence in English. Okay, now we try to connect the example of active sentence to the situation I've explained before. Okay, the first situation is when the object is more important than the subject. Look at the sentence. The postman delivered my document. Here, my document is more important than the postman. Why? Because that's what we actually need. We need the document, not the postman, right? So we can change it into passive voice and say, my document was delivered by the postman. Okay, next, in the situation when we don't want to disclose the subject or we don't want to say who did the action. Look at the sentence. Samantha broke the table. Okay, here just imagine that Samantha is your best friend and you don't want anyone knows that Samantha broke it because maybe you want to save her from anyone anger. So you can change it into passive voice and say, the table was broken. Okay, the third, in the situation when we don't actually know who did the action. Okay, look at the sentence. Someone stole my motorcycle. Who is someone? If we don't exactly know who did the action, then we can change it into passive voice and say, my motorcycle was stolen. Or probably you already know a little bit who stole your motorcycle, then you can change it into passive voice and say, my motorcycle was stolen by someone. Okay, so let's go back to the first example of active sentence to know how we turn this active sentence to become the passive sentence. Alright, there are 6 steps to turn an active sentence into a passive sentence. Step 1. Identify the subject, the verb, and the object. Okay, here we have an example of active sentence. My mother made the fried rice. Here, my mother as the subject, made as the verb, and fried rice as the object. Step 2. Move the object of the active sentence to become the new subject of the new sentence. So here, we move the fried rice to become the new subject of the new sentence. Step 3. Check what is the verb tense is used in the active sentence. Knowing the kind of tense is very important because the passive voice exists across different tenses. So you must check what tense is used in the active sentence. Is that past, present, future, or others? Step 4. Use the verb be depending on what tense is used in the active sentence and what is the new subject. Okay, here, because the active sentence is past tense and the new subject is fried rice, so we use the be was. Step 5. Add the past participle of the main verb in the active sentence after be. Okay, here, the main verb in the active sentence is made. So the past participle form from made is also made, and we put it after be. Okay, step 6. Move the subject of the active sentence to become the new object of the new sentence. And you can add it at the end of your sentence with the word by before the object. Here's the example. My mother made the fried rice. But you can also completely remove the object. Maybe because you don't know who did the action, or you just don't want to say who it was. So you can change it. My fried rice was made. Next, how to use the passive in different tenses. Okay, passive is made from two important parts, be and past participle. You can change the be depending on what tense is used, but the past participle stays the same, whether in the past tense, in the future tense, present tense, perfect tense, and the other tense. Okay, let's do some exercise to strengthen your understanding. Present. The pilot takes the equipments. What is the passive sentence for it? Okay, it becomes the equipments are taken by the pilot. Past. The pilot took the equipments. It becomes the equipments were taken by the pilot. Future. The pilot will take the equipments. It becomes the equipments will be taken by the pilot. Perfect. The pilot have taken the equipments. It becomes the equipments have been taken by the pilot. Okay, here we can see that the be change depends on what tense is used, but the past participle stays the same. Okay, that's enough from this lesson. But actually, there are a lot more practice about passive voice that you have to know. Okay, thank you for watching my video. I hope it will help everybody who need it. Beg pardon for my 1,000 mistakes and goodbye.